where he interviewed a drug dealer.
Told me that you run things around here and that you control the flow of drugs around.
No, that's wrong, man. That's wrong.
So he doesn't act like an interviewer. That's a very, very important part of everything before we even get into the nuances of the little characteristics that are used.
I'm not making you the content, but someone's saying that you're very good friends with Jimmy Savile. What have you got to say for yourself?
I call this the Trojan horse method because this is the most unexpected and under the radar method that he uses to get this information.
I love women and I actually understand them.
You think you know better than they do?
They want a guy that can lead them and dominate them.
It makes the other person want to flex, but by flexing, they are putting their foot in their mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. And here we are on another breakdown. And this one is probably my favorite breakdown because it is one of my favorite people who I have learned an incredible amount of skills from. And right now he is back in the media landscape. Everyone's talking about it because of the recent documentary that was released. And let me just play it a little bit for you so we have a little bit of a context.
I normally train a little bit earlier in the day. I like to start my day off working out,
Who are
doing
you
hard
talking
things.
to?
What, do I not talk to them? Don't talk to him. Talk to you.
We're not on social media now.
So this is the documentary in question. It is called Inside the Manosphere. The documentary is Inside the Manosphere with Louis Theroux. And today I want to try and break down how this man, one of the greatest documentarians of all time, Louis Theroux, gets people to expose themselves. Because if we have the ability to get people to reveal information, to give us information that we can use maybe to our advantage, to unlock some truth, to be able to use that information for the greater good, it is a very, very powerful skill of a communicator to be able to extract valuable information out of someone else. And over many, many years, in many, many different situations with many, many different demographics, Louis Theroux has managed to extract information in very high stakes, difficult, dangerous, very uncomfortable situations. So today I've kind of broken this down into 6 different tricks that he has in it, or tools he has in his toolkit that allows him to get people to give him that information, and it allows people to kind of trip all over themselves and just make sometimes an absolute joke out of themselves. He does have the ability to set people up very well, and then they just knock themselves down. So today, I think by the end of this, you'll have the learning of what are some of these key maneuvers that one of the greatest documentary creators has used to get this information, and hopefully you can use it for your own benefits. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jasky. I'm Australia's #1 street interviewer. And essentially, my goal here is to help you become descripted communicators, meaning in any room on the fly, you do not need the crutch of a fucking script, and you can perform effectively once you become a descripted communicator, which is a superpower, an absolute superpower to have. And I have obsessed over communication for 15 plus years, and I essentially field research human behavior. So today, by analyzing one of the greats, I think hopefully these 6 tools you can add to your toolkit to become way better at leveraging information from others. Hopefully not for nefarious, indiscriminate, very bad, using against people, manipulation, power, hungry, negative, all of the other caveats. Don't use it for any of that shit. If you do, I mean, just don't say, I gave you that information. Just say, Louis Theroux did it. Fucking blame him. All right, let's get on with it. So I'm going to play different snippets, but I think there has to be some overarching principles that allows one man to be put into these really uncomfortable situations that most people would walk away from. People you would never even try to engage in a conversation, and he seemingly extracts really, really poignant uh, uh, nuggets of information. Very, very powerful nuggets of information that obviously he has a framework that he uses. Now, first and foremost, you will realize one of the most important and overarching principle in his entire uh, uh, his entire main premise is to not act like an interviewer. If you're dressed like a door knocker and you've got a clipboard in your hand and you're wearing that tucked in blue shirt with the top button undone and your pants that are borrowed from your dad that are a little bit too loose and you knock on my door, more often than not, that is the response you're getting. Okay? Because it is pattern recognition. Most people, humans, we recognize a pattern and we know what our typical response to that pattern is. And he, as an interviewer, is trying to be a disruptor of that pattern. Right? So he doesn't act like an interviewer. That's a very, very important part of everything before we even get into the nuances of the little characteristics that are used. The main thing, and the thing that I've borrowed from him, is to not look the part. Because you're trying to access information that by looking the part, you're not going to be able to access. If you look like a journalist with a microphone, with the suit on and the tie, and you're like, hey, what's the Channel 9 News? You're not going to get much. You're going to get the response that is geared for that situation that people are already prepared for. He has glasses. He looks like a nerd. He's socially off, right? He comes across a little bit on the spectrum. He's a little bit not all there. It's a little bit disarming, right? He's non-threatening, completely non-threatening. The glasses, nerdy guy, scrawny, couldn't, if shit went down, he'd be the first one that'll get eaten. So he's already so non-threatening. He's very naive and positions himself as a curious outsider. Okay, that is all very important. So let me repeat that. If you are trying to get people to expose information, expose themselves, give you information that is normally guarded behind the beautiful castle walls that no one has ever entered, right? Then you have to act a little bit different. You have to set up a character that is likely to go under the radar. Okay? And in his case, he's an incredibly sharp, quick-witted, intelligent, and very, very precise choice of word, brevity, precise choice of word at all times. But it's masked within the ideal packaging of someone who's socially off, a little bit awkward, weird, strange, disarming. There's no pressure. He's just a weird guy. Non-threatening, very naive, and a curious outsider. Not looking like a journalist / interviewer. Okay? So once you have the initial resistance overcome by the character that you have set up, then the techniques come into play. Because if that character hasn't been set up, like in my case, when I do any of my street interviews, I am trying to come across as the aloof, possibly a little bit drunk, a little bit tipsy, very strange, odd body language, the hat, the very plain clothing, nothing in your face, walking a little bit, strange. It's no threat. Weird, a weird, little bit tipsy guy is very easy to talk to. Okay, so if you can, maybe not in a professional environment, you got to curate a little bit differently, and I'll let you brainstorm that. But in other situations, if you're trying to pick up a chick in a social environment, create the character that doesn't come across like the typical character that is going to get rejected, that is going to have a higher level of resistance, the suave. There you going? Hey. That guy is going to get that more often than anyone else. Okay, so don't be that. What's up, baby? Can I have your number because you fell from heaven and it must have hurt? Don't do that. Okay, just don't do that. That character achieves nothing. Okay, so this is an interview that he did where he interviewed a drug dealer who was under investigation from the police. So let's play this one.
With the police
Yes.
a little bit, you know that.
They've been telling you about us,
They
right?
told me that you run things around here and that you control the flow of drugs around.
No, that's wrong, man. That's wrong.
What's the story with your chain? Are those real diamonds?
Yes.
Are they? How much for something like that?
A couple grand.
Couple of grand?
Yeah.
If those are diamonds, that must be quite a bit more
Yes, it is.
than that. How much?
Probably 24.
24,000? Maybe a bit more?
Maybe a gold is higher now.
How much then?
Probably like 25.
How do you make your living?
What? Look. Real estate. We sell cars and everything, you know.
That's a perfect example of point number one. And point number one is called the naive framing. I've just titled these because it's easier for me to remember. And that way I can utilize them when I am trying to extract information from an interviewee myself. And I call this the Trojan horse method because this is the most unexpected and under the radar method that he uses to get this information, right? Called the naive framing. Now you saw in that snippet that I just played, he knows what he's trying to get to, but he asks the questions like he doesn't fully understand as a very naive, a non-threatening, curious outsider. I'm not in this industry. I don't fully understand it. Instead of saying, hey, isn't that morally questionable to sell drugs or whatever confronting judgmental question someone may ask? He says, hey, help me understand how that works. Positions it by, man, that's a dope chain. Because what that does is it makes the other person want to flex. But by flexing, they are putting their foot in their mouth, right? How much is that chain? Oh, about $2,000. Man, if it had diamonds, I reckon it'd be a lot more expensive. Like it's kind of getting the person to flex, but in a very naive, it's not the direct manner. It is skirting around, but getting to the same destination by asking in honest curiosity. It removes the judgment. It invites explanation instead of defense and makes the other person feel like, yeah, okay, cool. This is just a person who's curious about my chain. And then the follow-up, how do you make your money? Because he set it up that you've got a chain that's $25,000. I think that's what he said, or $2,500, whatever. A very expensive chain. Now, how do you make your money? I'm just curious. So the naive framing is incredibly powerful, as opposed to you see interviewers with a direct, just ask this question and you fucking answer it. And that invites defense. That's not how anyone exposes themselves. You are there with them as this person who's not acting as an interviewer, someone who's just rolling around with cameras, this nerdy looking guy. And I just want to know about your chain. I'm very curious. This is the masterful art of a descripted communicator. If you want to become a descripted communicator, that is a program I run where you can throw out the script and become, within a 16 to 26 week period, a masterful descripted communicator, which in any room, any situation, you can effectively extract information or communicate your way to get the outcomes you want in the world. One of the most powerful skills you can stack upon any other skills you have. Jasky.me is the website. Okay. And this is in that recent documentary. I believe this is part of the live that was showcased in the recent documentary. And the person he's talking to here is HS Tiki Toki. Fucking what a crazy handle. HS Tiki Toki is the guy's handle. And he's interviewing him on the live that he's rolling around with him on. And he wants to ask him the question about him appealing to a very vulnerable audience. But again, the Trojan horse here is he gets people to overshare by putting it in a very naive manner as a curious outsider.
So I'm just talking to girls, really. Walking around talking to girls, getting pictures with fucking people that watch me and shit.
Yeah.
But mainly just talking to girls.
Are you surprised how young some of your fans are?
Yeah, them. That is, but do you know what it is?
Like 11, 12?
Yeah, they're too young to be watching my shit, but earlier on, before you was here, there was like people that are like your age. So it's like, literally all ages watch this stuff.
A very, very interesting way. You could go direct in there, like saying, you know, why are you appealing to this audience? Why are you trying to target young kids? And there is the barrier of getting the information. You're going to hit a dead end. But now positioning it and masking it as a very naive, uninformed, very curious person who's a little bit awkward. Now that he's that popular, it's a little bit harder to play that positioning, but he still manages to do it. Are you aware that that is the kind of audience you have? And then you see the long diatribe of information that comes out, justifying the thing that that he wants. He wants him to now ramble on about it, which indicates there is something here that he is trying to hide, but he opens up and gives that information just from that Trojan horse method of interrogation. Now, that's number one. Number two, I think you will notice already in both of these snippets that I played is an even more powerful method is of him always underreacting. Now, when people have a conversation with someone, they feel like they need to overreact. Someone tells you, or someone says something extravagant, and the reaction we try to have is, wait, what? But instead, what you'll notice and how he continues to get someone to share more information is by underreacting with his response, because then the person tries to go further because there isn't that resistance, or like, whoa, and then it's already like, oh, I better back up because that's kind of the response I wanted, or that there is a dramatic response. Whereas you'll notice with him, either it's just silence, like, wow, or he responds by saying something like, right, and how often does that happen? Or tell me more about how that takes place, right? It's sometimes just a facial expression, which is he's not taking the bait of trying to give that response, which then encourages the person to escalate. And what he wants is an oversharing of information in the situation where it is to indicate he's comfortable in this space. Any overreaction is a level of discomfort. And he wants to showcase, yeah, I'm with you, man. You're in this environment. I'm in this environment. We're safe. We're good. So a level of underreacting is a superpower to get someone to share more, because they don't feel judged, and they don't feel judged in real time. And they also feel like, oh, this person's cool with this environment. They're not judging me that this environment's out of place for them. They feel they're okay here. They're all right here. I still remember one of his interviews where he was in this home with these white supremacists who were saying some crazy stuff and getting him to admit that he doesn't like Jewish people. I believe that's a backstory. It was a long time ago. And he continuously tries to not give them the answer he wants because they continue to then give him more and more information. It is such a powerful strategy of always underreacting. We are used to always providing a greater reaction to try and give the other person some like kudos, and we're like happy. But it's better, if you want more information, keep the reaction lower.
All ages watch this stuff.
Do you consider yourself a misogynist?
I love women and actually understand them.
You think you know better than they do?
They want a guy that can lead them and dominate them.
There's a perfect example of that underreaction. He's saying a statement that most people would have, it's like a bait. Most people would have a response to. Most people would react to in some way. And that would allow him to feel like, yep, I've escalated the situation. I've got the response I wanted. Whereas a complete, as you can see, generally a slightly judgmental, but also pretty nonchalant. Yeah, okay. Interesting. A complete monotonous reaction to the situation allows that other person to further escalate.
Someone in the chat, can I ask you a question?
And I think this again is in the live where he tries to get another reaction out of him, out of Louis, by saying something a little bit controversial and a little bit of a personal attack. And you notice again, it's an underreaction, which allows then the person to continue and share more, do more.
Oh, jeez. Don't make me the content.
I'm not making you the content, but someone's saying that you're very good friends with Jimmy Savile. What have you got to say for yourself?
Jimmy Savile. Well, I helped to expose him while he was alive.
And you can see he's, this is point 3, so I don't want to jump ahead. You can see the silence. You can see the complete awkward gap that he doesn't try to fill.
Saying you're friends, and
Well, he's dead, so I can't be friends
you
with him
used to
now.
have a few freak-offs. Anyway, on that note, let's keep it stepping. You're
Mentioned something about freak-offs, or let's just play it back a little bit.
Well, he's dead, so I can't be friends
You
with him
used
now.
to have a few freak-offs. Anyway, on that note, let's keep it stepping.
So the man, Holden Commodore HS, tried to elicit a reaction, tried to get Louis to take the bait, and he didn't. It's just an underreaction. And I don't need to overharp on it. I think you understand that if you want to get more to happen, if you want it to continue, sometimes a moderate reaction or enough of a reaction to continue the conversation, to continue to get it to go in the direction you want, is what you should be doing in that situation. Okay. Point number 3 is you will notice there is a lot of silence, and silence is used expertly and allows there to be enough awkward gaps, because by helping the silence hang in a painful manner, the other person is wired to feel the silence. People feel a level of tension when there is silence. People feel an uncomfortable tension that they need to feel, and it's filled with words. And a lot of people want to kill that tension by continuing to talk, right? A lot of people want to continue to talk when silence or a gap exists. And this is one of the skills that I try to train in communicators as quickly as possible, because silence is one of the easiest things to train once you get comfortable with the tension, and there's a framework around it. Once you get comfortable with it, it is also one of the most powerful things to get the results you want, because you don't have to do anything. You have to think of words. You have to like massage the other person in some kind of verbal judo. You don't have to do any of that. You're not doing all of the semantics that may seem difficult. You are just using silence in a powerful manner.
There's 2 men in your life.
Yes, sir.
Is that difficult?
No,
What about jealousy, sexual jealousies between the 3 of you?
because it never happens without all 3 of us.
Really?
Really.
And that works?
Works awesome. Because we're all too tired to have sex.
Let me play back, because you might have missed some of the maneuvers here. Now, first and foremost, this is a potential trio of the skills that I'm talking about. Number 1 is the naive, the Trojan horse, the naive questioning, the very I don't understand. Explain it to me a little bit. Then not reacting, having a massive underreaction to the response. Okay, I think he's asking Joe Exotic, I believe his name is, the lion trainer guy. I haven't watched anyway. The guy, the ranger, he's asking him about his sexual orientation and how it works with having a number of guys together, and trying to extract that information, is asking a very naive question. I don't get it, dude. I don't understand. Explain it to me. And then having an underreaction to the response to get him to continue. And then when he doesn't have the response he wants, just lets the silence hang. It's all 3 in 1. Let's watch it back.
Is that difficult?
It's difficult. Position in a very naive, awkward. I don't understand. Tell me.
No.
What about jealousy, sexual jealousies between the 3 of you?
Again, positioned as a very curious person, right? Like, what about the jealousy? Like, wouldn't that be a problem?
Because it never happens without all 3 of us.
Really?
Really.
And that works?
Works awesome. Because we're all too tired to have sex.
And does that work awesome? Does that work? It works awesome. And then silence. Complete silence in that situation. Someone was calling out for me, but that's not the case. It's just silence. It's silence out there. Silence. And then the oversharing happens. We're just too tired to have sex anyway. So you can see the trio, the stack, the nootropic stack that works magic, right? So you see all three skills in one go. And that's why he is a master of this art. Only some people can get people to consistently overshare and expose themselves. And he knows how to get that done. Number 4 is the entirety of Louis' aim is to get information that everyone is thinking, the stuff everyone wants an answer to. But it's a bit of a tense situation. It's a bit confronting. So for him, he wants to get that information because that is what people want to talk. That is what people want to see. That is the magic of the documentaries. People want to know those answers, but getting to those answers requires a level of confrontation. And what you will notice that he does expertly is called the soft confrontation. Again, I've just labeled this in ways that I remember. I call it the delayed punch. He builds up to that moment with all the other techniques that I've outlined thus far. And then the confrontation is quite soft. It's masked with a smile. It's asked in a very throwaway manner, like it's just an obvious thing to ask at that time. And it's letting people talk. Once there is a period of talking, a level of rapport, there's comfort built, then there's a gentle challenge. But it's thrown in as a most obvious thing to ask at that point. You know, some people may say, what you do is manipulative, right? What would you say to them? Like, it's just an obvious thing to ask. And the person being asked, already invested, they've already had a conversation. They already know, like, hey, we've kind of got a rapport, whatever. He's already kind of skirted the edges of that conversation. And at that moment, it just seems an obvious little bit of a confrontation, which doesn't come across tense because it's a delayed punch, right? So just to re-summarize what it is everyone wants an answer to that question. You know what that question is. How do you get there? Is by delaying the punch and by making it seem obvious in a soft confrontation. Okay, so I'll show you an example.
Did you ever hurt anyone physically?
Oh, always, yeah.
Did you notice the tonality? Did you hurt anyone physically? Like it's asked like he's kind of regretfully asking it, but it is the main question. It is the main question. Because I think this man here was under investigation for some violent act that he performed on somebody. And the main question is to find out, did he hurt the person? But it's asked in such a...
Did you ever hurt anyone physically?
Physically? Did you ever hurt anyone? And again, it's like the obvious thing. Like, I don't really want to ask this, but it's kind of the obvious question that I have to ask right now. And it's many minutes into the interview that he's finally got to that question. And a lot of people want to jump to that being the first question. You do not get the answer. You cannot get someone to expose themselves. You cannot get someone to reveal the information you want. You cannot get someone to overshare if it is done, the confrontational period is done right at the top. Near impossible. Okay?
Oh, always, yeah. We always beat people up. I'm not going to lie to you. We always fight. But family...
And you can see I'm not going to lie to you because we kind of already have some level of investment. We're invested. We have a level of rapport. I've already hung out with you for long enough. And the fact that he uses the words, I'm not going to lie to you, it's more that he's probably lying, but that's beside the point. It's secondly that there is that, I'm just going to share this information now because I've already kind of invested in this person. And the question has been asked in a, whatever, like, whatever, just a question,
Problems, sometimes you do what you gotta do to survive, man.
Did you stomp on that girl's head?
No, I did not stomp on that girl's head. She'll tell you herself. I did not touch that girl. That's why I came out, and they locked me up.
Mate,
And again, even the follow-up question, which I think is the other part of the main question, he is asked again in a very soft, very regretful, very, just a general thought that I have here. I just want to ask you this question. So that's point 4, is the soft confrontation, the delayed punch that he always has, which is the main move. It is a main extraction, but it's always hidden later in the picture. And number 5, I don't have a visual example. All the examples are examples of this behavior, but I think it's important to add this here, is mirroring the person in a manner without it being obvious. And he mirrors them in a way that is their kind of mannerisms, right? Like their quirkiness. He gets a little bit more quirky. You know, when someone's doing the thing with their eyebrows, where there was Myron doing the thing with he does it back to them, kind of like becoming a bit of a buddy. It's building this subconscious trust, and he's subtly adopting their tone, their pacing, their energy, and it makes the interaction kind of feel natural. Okay, and you notice this mirroring is building throughout it, like even in that live with the HS tiki-talkie. He's kind of creating this. I'm broing out with you. We're doing some stuff. He's not joining in because he doesn't want to. That's not his thing. But the energy is still kind of being mirrored with the interviewee. And I think mirroring of the energy allows it to just feel like you're not such a complete outsider that I can't hang out with you. If you want to get someone to reveal some information, they got to be okay to hang with you. You've got to be someone they can spend some time with you. And that takes the matching of the pacing, tonality, energy, vibe, aura, all of that needs to be somewhat in line. Otherwise, they're not going to spend adequate enough time for you to get the information.
Mate, that's what I do.
Have you let Harris know the police are looking for him?
What? Oh, Harris, Louis needs to tell you.
You know, you assaulted someone on camera earlier.
Did I?
Yeah.
I thought I was edited. Honestly, what have you got to say though? Like, what did you say?
No, what happened?
Did you involve the police?
He called the police.
You snitched?
Well, I did my civic duty, yes.
Nah.
El Theroux in the chat.
Why did you punch that guy?
I didn't punch him.
I saw it. It was on stream. Yeah, why did you do that?
Because I want to feel his bald head in it. Like, I want to feel what it feels like.
That part is a culmination of many of the skills thus far. So you can see the very naive framing in the question. It's pretty forthright, but it's still from a place of curiosity. Why did you punch that person? And then when he says something crazy back, there is an underreaction. Then there is enough silence to let him explain himself. You know, let you explain. Number 4, I saw you do it. So there is a soft confrontation. There is the real reaction. I saw you do it because I want the answer. And then when the answer is just ridiculous, then he steps back. But up until that point, he's still mirroring the energy, which is number 5, still mirroring, still doing the matching of the energy as much as possible to try and extract the information. Then when it just becomes stupid, he backs off. So you see the culmination of all of those tools in that small interaction. Because you can see that he is a different character when he is being filmed as opposed to when he's on a podcast. He is not this character when he's on a podcast. He's a completely different person. So this is all created to get this information. Point 6, and this one is probably the most obvious point. This one is no surprise to anybody, and I've said it at the top. So point 6 is going to be dead obvious. So I'm going to run through it.
No, but
What would you say is the message?
I coach boys how to make money,
Wow, this is a nice spot.
how to be outside the system, how to be proper guys.
Shut up or nut up.
Would you see me that way? Did you look at my arms?
So I know I say a lot of them are the main ones. The one that gets him away with most of this and gets him to get most of the information is being the incredibly socially uncalibrated individual. The person that socially doesn't really fit. Okay, like he doesn't look the part. You know, he's never killed the part of himself that's cringe, but he'll he'll ride that part because that allows the person to kind of just switch off a little bit. You want the person to switch off their resistance so you can get inside and get some of the information. He leans into the awkwardness. He has these slightly off questions. Did you just look at my arms? It just takes away some of the simmering energy that prevents people from giving you the information you want. There is very odd timing. He just says random things at times, but it's all curated to get the responses that he wants. And it breaks the script and the tension of that situation. People don't know how to perform with someone who's saying these off-kilter things. And then they just revert to defaulting to the truth and giving him the information that he wants. And that is a masterful play of a descripted communicator. Okay, these little breakaways from the narrative, these very awkward, strange situations, strange interactions that get the person to just share the information you want because it takes away some of their guard. How do you break the guard? A little bit of comedy, a little bit of unusual behavior. This socially uncalibrated individual, there's no threat. I have nothing to worry about. Here's the information. Here's what I need to, I'm just going to say some stuff.
The stature's not saying too much.
As you can see.
Hey, that's what I do.
She won't hurt you. She's just going to grab you real close. She's going to want you to.
It's another example of these odd situations that just gets people to just give you way more information because he's just this character that brings no threat to anyone.
Hold her.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, she's not a bit aggressive.
Okay,
Now, you feel her belt right here?
Yeah.
Just hold on to her belt. You know,
like that?
Yep. And she'll just, that's her belt. That's more or less her harness. She's screaming over the mic. She didn't understand the mic.
The mic
she
is
won't hurt
okay. Now look at
You
this.
know,
This is interesting.
You know, she's wanting to groom you. She's just checking you out.
It's quite a nice feeling, but there's something about her face
What
that's a
a
little bit
nice
off-putting.
Yeah. No.
What should we do? Wait,
You know what? She'll automatically scream when I go to get her back.
no, wait. No, okay, everything's fine.
Tatiana.
She's getting nervous when you get close, and that's making me nervous. Why are you making her nervous?
Just for the fact she don't want to, she wants to stay out. She's getting attention.
She's having fun.
She loves the attention.
Okay. I don't really want to touch her bum that much is one of the things.
There is the embodiment and the epitome of the art there and why he is the master of this art form that others are not is because he can play the part of sounding like a very dim-witted, very socially inept person, yet masking that is someone who is incredibly sharp, incredibly smart, incredibly strategic, knows exactly the information he's trying to get, knows clearly in the moment where he is trying to navigate that conversation, where he needs to go, but it is all masked within this exterior of a very stumbly, kind of awkward, dim-witted, not so clever, not very bright individual that just says these off-kilter things. So those are the 6, right? And I'll quickly fire through them again, and then I'll finish off with the antidote to hopefully that I've learned that I can help you with. Naive framing. His questioning is always positioned in a very naive, I'm a very curious, I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about. It's always under reaction. Someone gives you a bit of information. His reaction is not taking the bait. It's always below what the expected reaction is. There is always a level of silence, using silence expertly that allows people to keep talking. When there is where there's a gap in conversation, we are designed to fill it. So it just fills it with information. 4, there is a delay to get to the question. The question that you want to ask is never first. It's always a delay, but there is a soft confrontation, the delayed punch. And it's asked in such a off-the-cuff, obvious, of course I'm asking this question, that type of manner. Number 5, throughout the process, he is mirroring the tone, pacing, tonality, all of that as much as possible to be in with the person. And number 6, the one that I think is his superpower, the one that I have tried to utilize myself as much as possible, is the socially uncalibrated, bit of a random dude type persona, which is not the actual truth, because you can see outside of this, he is a very, very clever person. Okay, now, if stuck in a situation or confronted with a situation where you have someone who is an expert at exposing you, getting the information out of you, how should one respond? How does one tackle not oversharing, not over-explaining? Okay? Number 1, and the most important, is take a calming breath. Before answering, before saying a single fucking thing, take a calming breath. That's 4 in, 4 out. So, through your nose. You can do the out breath through your mouth if you like. What that does, it gets your emotions to drop, your words to be in control. You are now calmer and in a position to respond as opposed to quickly responding to a stimulus, which gets your foot stuck in your mouth. Okay? Number 2, you control the pace. Okay? You don't have to respond very quickly. You can take as long as you want. Use the silence to your advantage. Get the other person to fill the space. Okay? You control the pace. Doesn't have to be controlled by the other person. Okay? Number 3, only answer the question that you are asked or you choose to answer. Hey, do you know the weather? Someone will go, yeah, I know the weather. It's 33 degrees and it's soon going to be 37 high and 22 minimum. You didn't answer the question. Do you know the weather? Yes, I do. That's the answer. If then someone says, what is the weather today? Then you go, yes, okay, it's 33 degrees, 37 high, 33 right now. Answer, you can choose to answer both, right? But only answer the question that is being asked. You can choose to answer more. And number 4, make it short. Talk slow. The longer you talk, the more questions you are going to get because they can extract more from your long answer and use those to pinpoint more parts of their questioning. Now, if you can't explain it in a short bit, rework it in your head before you explain it. Okay? And a bonus, look, mirror someone who you think would answer that question. Channel their state, their energy, because your brain is geared to mirror someone's state. So you can borrow their confidence, their abilities temporarily. You can temporarily step into the world's greatest negotiator. You can temporarily step into the energy of a Barack Obama if you think he is one of the most amazing communicators. If you watch enough, mirror the traits and characteristics and behaviors enough, write them down, mirror them as much as possible, and then temporarily step into that state, you can respond as that person. You can borrow their energy. And that's how you get that's the antidote to when you are confronted with a Louis Theroux. Now, I hope that was valuable. Take some of those lessons and do your magic. And we will see you. No, we, it's just me. There's no one else here. It's just we, me and the hat. The hat and this consumed can of Coke. We will see you next time. Goodbye.